Well, it's mid-April. We've been here for the better part of 3 weeks setting up scouting. We've had one group come in and leave successful. We got 3 birds down the first day. And this week we have 2 repeat clients coming in, John Anders and his dad Rick. The birds are really getting after it right now. There's a lot of gobbling going on. Whether the birds cooperate or whether conditions get tough, we do have some weather coming in. It's supposed to be very cold and down into the single teens, which will make these guys happy. Just being out there, hearing the birds, knowing that you're in a spot where the birds are, knowing that we were out there doing our job to scout, and we pretty much have a good pattern where these birds are, the blinds are set up in the right locations, all equate to a great experience for these guys. So again, whether they're lucky enough to tag out on a bird or tag out on 2 birds, either way, we're going to have a lot of fun and a lot of laughs, and we're really looking forward to it.
I've been hunting with Ivory Antler for about 6 years now. Started out turkey season way back in 2020 when I first met Earl. And I hunt about all the above with him. I've hunted elk, hunted turkeys several years now. Going to be doing some pronghorn hunting this year and have done some cow elk hunting as well, and probably make for a bear this year, hopefully. I was blown away immediately with just his ability to read the terrain, read the turkeys, but also his dedication to conservation and to the animals. They were always a very sacred thing to him, and that really definitely left a lasting impression on me. After about 3 or 4 years of badgering my father, I finally got him to crumble and come out with me. So he always was asking me, is this going to be one of those situations of you're going to hunt all the time and not get to see anything? And I was like, Dad, it's always been great hunting. I promise you're going to have a great experience. And last year we were both tagged out in about 4.5 hours. So I got to see more turkeys in one morning than he's ever seen in his entire life. And actually last year my dad had said, this is going to be my one time I'm going to do this and never come back. And we landed back in Kentucky on the way home, and he looks over at me and goes, we're going to do this again next year. So here we are.
Got a father and son combo coming in today. We've been watching these birds along these fields for pretty much a week now, and they're being pretty consistent. We've got 2 blind setups. One's on the seam between the planted cornfield and the alfalfa, and it's just a natural draw for these birds. It's along a fence. And then we've got a second blind set up on where we think they're going to end up. They're pretty consistent in ending up in these little set of trees before they go up behind us on the cap rock. So we've got multiple setups on that end. So we're really just out this morning watching what's going on, getting a count of the birds, and coming up with a final game plan for tomorrow.
I think a lot of us remember deer camp, right? When we were kids, coming up with all the camaraderie and the songs and the stories and around the campfire and stuff like that. And I think Earl does a very good job of building that camaraderie, building that deer camp, giving you that almost that childhood experience that you miss when you get older in life. So anyway, we get in here, have a great meal with Earl. He kind of gives us an idea of what's going on out there and kind of decide where we're going to go tomorrow morning. So Saturday morning comes along. Earl kind of gave us a little bit of a synopsis of what was going on on that blind. Turkeys were coming from the right to the left in mass over the past couple of days. So we had a pretty good idea of what we were getting ourselves into. Walking out to the blind, set the decoys up, and got set up in the blind that morning. And it didn't take very long after we were there, maybe 45 minutes after we got in the blind. Here they started coming. It was one of those situations that we got to test our previous day's commitment to hold off on shooting. It was 6:10 in the morning, and here comes a shootable Tom. And he spent probably close to 30 to 45 minutes in front of our blind, within 10 to 15 feet the whole time, watching the decoys, moseying around, just it's an experience it's one thing to hunt them, but it's even more of an experience to be able to watch them and be in their domain and their habitat, and they don't know you're there, and they're just being turkeys. That is an experience that I always enjoy doing, and I don't get to do it as much as I would like to. So getting out here to get to do that, have that experience, is always second to none. They both move on probably about, like I said, about 35, 40 minutes afterwards after we get into it, and then the floodgates open. Here we go. Here comes the main body. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Here comes a couple gobblers. 8. There's a bunch of them still back in the scrub. They're not coming out yet. People, I don't think, realize it is basically out of a movie. These turkeys come in, are all around you. You're feeling that experience. And then from there on, it was about 2.5 hours of just turkeys coming in. We finally got a couple of nice birds to start coming in, and we started watching one in particular. Oh, here comes the gobbler. He's strutting. It's one of those situations that it's always how the universe works, right? You say, I'm not going to shoot this early. We're gonna watch. We're gonna see what comes about. Because Colorado is a one tag state. Like when that gun goes off, the hunt's over. And when you have that experience of having all those turkeys around you, you kind of want the process to end. But as we're sitting there watching, and the cameraman's getting some good footage, I started watching this one bird more and more. He looked like a tank walking through the alfalfa, to be honest with you, when he's out in full strut, and you could clearly tell that he was the lead bird of the area. Whenever there was several other nice toms that when he came around, they would scamper off. He would guard the hens away from the smaller toms and the jakes, so you could definitely tell he was the bird. And it was one of those situations that I began to go, well, maybe this is the one I'm going to take this week. Like, he's a beautiful bird. It's a beautiful moment, and we've had our fill of this experience. So we're watching this bird again. He kind of deviated between 45 and 60 yards, and it was one of those first things was, okay, if he gets within range, we'll start talking about shooting this turkey. But he was also a lot of turkeys around him, hens, jakes, and gobblers. So you didn't really want to, obviously with a shotgun, you don't want to be shooting an animal that's too close to you. So it's like, well, if he separates himself out, we'll take a shot at that point. So slowly but surely, he walks himself out to about 45 yards. I range him with my binoculars, and he gives me a clean shot. And I was like, hey, we're going to go ahead and take him. So the rest to say is history. It was a wonderful, wonderful hunt. Growing up as a kid, I've hunted since I was 9 years old. I remember my dad buying my first shotgun when I got my first hunter safety all those years ago. And we all have gone home empty-handed, obviously. But what Earl brings to the table that you don't see, I don't think, in a lot of these worlds, but even the TV shows we watch on Outdoor Channel, is a level of a true hunt. Yeah, I have gone home from Earl's hunts before on elk and other hunts where I go home empty-handed, but I still come back every year because it's a true hunt. It is a true deer camp experience. It's not about taking an animal. I mean, animals are great, obviously. We all want to kill the big elk, we all want to kill the big turkey, but it is an experience that when you go home at the end of the hunt, whether you have an animal in the freezer or not, you just want to come back again and do it again the next year and feel that feeling again. You are in God's backyard out here in Colorado, and you get to see, basically have a spiritual experience, both in the blind, in the camp, on the way there and on the way back. And when I killed my first elk, I was like, I don't know if I'll ever do that again. And next year I was back, and the year after that I was back. And I can't thank Earl enough for the opportunities that he brings us when we get to come out here every year. His ability to give you a true hunting experience and his true respect for the conservation of the animals is, in my opinion, second to none out there.